I just got to know early morning that I didn't match. That was something very tough for me to digest. I did well. I thought I did well through the interview, and the interactions I had with the program, they sounded interested, which actually made me a bit more hopeful. But yeah, I was thinking that I would get in. It was kind of a shock, I would say, not matching. Match day is obviously hard if you do not get to match. But yeah, I had to just take a moment off, just reprocess everything, and I needed to just go through the soap thing. Although going into soap, I wasn't very hopeful about the soap because I've always heard as IMGs you have pretty less chance going through into the soap. I heard one of my friends matching in soap, so yeah, there was a glimpse of hope in there that I might go on and match. I think so. Yeah, I just went ahead. I applied. You get 45 tokens to apply. So something which I did different was during my main match season, I applied for internal medicine. It was clear-cut internal medicine, the field I was looking for. So this time I decided to apply over a wide range of specialities. So I went with IM, I went with FM, and few programs of EM, emergency medicine. So yeah, but family medicine, I was just kind of trying to just go through different programs as much as I could during that short period of time you have. So I listed down a couple of programs that were actually, I have interest in hospital medicine going ahead. So I kind of looked at programs that were more inpatient, that offered more inpatient stuff as compared to the other programs, other family medicine programs. So I went ahead, I divided my list, and I just applied. And that was, I think, Tuesday, early morning, you have a deadline. So I applied before the deadline. And then it was all just wait and see if you could work your luck out and just get an interview. So I waited Tuesday, I didn't get an interview. Wednesday morning, I didn't hear from them. It was Wednesday evening when I got I think I was in East Coast. So it was around 3:30 p.m. East Coast time when I got an email from them that they wanted to interview me. And I kind of had 2 hours to prepare for the interview. So that was pretty short time, although I had gone through the program, but I didn't do massive research about it because you don't have that much time for that. So I just took 10 minutes just to process this news that I actually had a chance in soap. So if I could make it, if I got a chance, I have to use it. I have to go all out and try all I could. So yeah, I just processed the news, got my thoughts together. I reached out to a couple of people I knew who were in the family medicine specialty. And one of the mentors, they were kind enough to just interview me. Yeah, they just took a 5 minutes interview just to calm my nerves down. And that actually, I think, helped me a lot. So yeah, and straight away after 2 hours, I was into an interview and going ahead, it went well. So in SOAP, you can actually communicate to the program once they start communicating. So as they called out for an interview, so later on, I just emailed the person who interviewed me. That was the associate program director. And so on Wednesday, we were done. So Thursday is basically the round. We have 4 rounds of SOAP.
Yes.
So I was hopeful that I might get an offer. First round went ahead. I didn't get an offer. Second round, no offer. And when the second round ended and the third round started, they only had I think 1 seat vacant. And so I thought it was the end. It was the end story. So the third round, when the round ends, you get to know how many seats are still vacant. So when the third round ended, and I just went on to go on and check the list. So it's just like you get an hour before you get to know how many seats are vacant. And then after 1 hour, you get the offer if you are getting one. So I was shocked to see that still they had 1 seat left. And the communication I was having with the associate program director, that seemed to me like they were kind of offering me the job. So I was pretty confused. I was like, they're communicating something else. I'm not getting an offer. It was all the time I spent all through the anxiety and everything.
Yes.
But yeah, as soon as the 4th round started, I got the offer. So I took a couple of moments. I have a wife and 2-year-old son. So I just asked them if they wanted to go to Alaska. That was the thing because we were at the East Coast and there was a big transition. So I just wanted to let them know if they were comfortable with that. So as soon as I got a thumbs up from them, I just went away and accepted the offer. So this was a bit of my story, the soap. I think I particularly knew why I didn't match. I graduated from Pakistan, Fatma Memorial Hospital in Fatma Memorial Medical College in Pakistan, Lahore. I graduated in 2019. That was my year of graduation. I had some visa process going on, so I had to wait on for 2 years. I was actually working back home, but I could not come to US. So that was something which was actually making it tougher for me. And the thing which is actually very astonishing, I did not have any US clinical experience in person. I only had tele rotations. Yeah, so I think that was the main thing which actually just didn't let me match in the main match. I think getting an interview, I got an interview. I did the interview went pretty well, but obviously when they would have just gone through the whole application, I think that was a place where I was deficient in. I could clearly see that because I just moved in November last year. I came into US. I found a job. I was working at a clinic, but I thought that was too late because that's past the deadline. You're done with the submissions. And before that, I only had tele-rotations, which I went through. I had 2 tele-rotations. I got 3 LORs through those tele-rotations. And so that was pretty much it I had. I had LORs from Pakistan, but I think they are of least value here. So yeah, I think this was something which was actually deficient. And I knew after going through the interview process, I thought I had a chance. But initially, if you asked me when I was starting my applications, it was just a gamble. I did not want to waste my year for this. I just wanted to sit in the match, get the feel of the match, and let's see if I was lucky enough to match. So I think US clinical experience is something which I was clearly deficient on. Most of the programs don't consider tele-rotations as US clinical experience, which I think is fair enough. And so yeah, this was pretty much my application.
Did you have all your ECFMG certification, step 3, by the time you applied last September?
So yeah, I had my ECFMG certificate. I did not give step 3 because I could not come to US. I had my immigration process ongoing. So during that, the COVID hit. And actually the process that took 8 months took me over almost 3 years. That actually led to me working 2 years back home, but I could not travel. I tried for you could just go for a visit visa, but people told me not to do that because that's going to hit my immigration process. So I was just kind of found in between things. So I didn't go for that. I just went in. Yeah, as I was talking about, it was more of a gamble just to sit in the match. If I could just afford it and go through, I just wanted to take the risk, have a feel of the match, and even if I don't go up matching, I would just be a better applicant next year. So this was the basic plan going through the match.
Did you have your step 3 at the time of SOAP?
No, I did not have it. I was actually preparing for it, but I didn't have the exam done.
Now, you said you applied for internal medicine through the residency application season. Could you share how many programs you applied to?
Yeah. So for the main match, I think I applied around 200 programs for internal medicine. Yeah. Although that was a thing I should not have been doing because mostly there are 50 to 60 programs, I guess, that do not require US clinical experience. Rest of the programs do require us to have 3 months of clinical experience in US. So that was a thing. I just went ahead and I applied because when I had to gamble, I wanted to gamble I go all out and take the risk. So yeah, that was a financial hit, seeing all the crisis in my economical crisis in my country as well. But yeah, I just had to take it. So I took it on and just took the gamble and it paid off.
Could you share how many interviews you got in internal medicine?
Yeah, so I had 5 interviews. I got 5 interviews. So yeah, and one thing I would like to mention, as I was talking about the visa process, I was not a visa requiring IMG. Yeah, that was something important. I want to bring it up. Maybe, yeah, that didn't clear up that. So I got 1 interview from a 2 interviews from a non-visa requiring program, and 3 interviews were from the programs that actually gave visas to IMGs. So it was a mixed thing. You cannot say my visa status only got me interviews. There were 2 programs that did not offer visas. So I got interviews from them. And 3 of the programs actually gave visas to IMGs. They offered J1 and H1B. So it was a mix of things.
Finding out that you went unmatched, it came as a shock to you. Is that when you started preparing yourself mentally for SOAP, or did you start preparing even before, like in February, before the match day?
Yeah. So as I was talking about, when I started my match preparations, I wasn't that hopeful for matching. But when I was done with my interview process, I was pretty hopeful that I would match. So I wasn't preparing for so. Yeah, I would see people preparing, talking here and there about even if you don't match, you should be prepared for so. I think you should be, but I wasn't prepared. When I got the news on Monday morning, I just took an hour off, just processed that news, just thought about my plan going through. I actually had my whole year planned. I just, within that 1 hour, I just processed the news, and I actually had my whole plan ready for the next year. So soap was more like a gamble. As I told you, one of my colleagues only matched in soap. I've only heard of one or two stories of people matching in soap. So I wasn't pretty hopeful about soap, but yes, I just went through. It took me an hour or so, and then I was all set because I had a deadline to meet for the soap. So
Yes.
I had to research or go through all the programs and see which programs, because you have limited offer. You have 45 tokens to use. So I just had to go through all the list of the programs. So that actually, I worked the almost most of the night. I was up. I was just going through the programs, applying to the programs, just tweaking around with my application, a bit changes in I needed to do in my personal statement or something like that. Because for family medicine, when you're going from internal medicine to family medicine, you actually need to change stuff in your personal statement, I guess. So yeah, that was the thing. I took some time, I made those changes, and then I went ahead and applied.
Got it. And because these letters of recommendation that you got were from internal medicine attendings, I'm assuming that the telerotations that you did.
Yeah, they were all from internal medicine.
Okay. Okay.
I did not have any family medicine LOR. So after the match result, it takes a kind of 1 hour, and so you have the access to your applications, your LORs, and you can start working on them. So after that, you have 1 hour. After 1 hour, you have the time, and almost I think it's 18 to 19 hours deadline, like early morning Tuesday. The deadline ends when you should be applying, when you should have applied to the programs. Actually, you can go on and apply later as well, but that's the time when the programs actually review the application. So just like the main match, that you should meet that timeline and you should be done before that.
Got it.
I think you can add it to your personal statement.
Yep.
The whole ERA CV, I don't think so.
Yeah.
Even you don't have time, you should not be tweaking with that.
Got it.
You should just be working on your personal statement if you have something to change, like I had to change. So I would recommend just going through that and making small changes. I won't recommend just going on and writing a whole personal statement, a new one. So if you have a backup plan for that, that's good. So I just had to take some time off and just think about it and make the changes I needed.
Absolutely. What happens to all the geographic preferences and signaling that you share in the main residency application?
But in SOAP, there is nothing like that. You get options. You have all across the US, you have options. Whichever program has vacancies, you can go on and apply.
Got it. Yeah. And like you mentioned, any specialty.
Yeah, any specialty. Yeah.
Going through this emotional turmoil, really, this is such a distressing time. Could you share how you went through it? You said you had family, so I'm sure your spouse was there to help out, but could you share how you took the time to process all this? And I know you had to do it pretty quickly.
Yeah, so it's kind of pretty hard. It hits you hard when you do not match. Even if you know your application is not that strong, going through that whole process, all those preparing for interviews, then going through all the process and then waiting for the match, it is something that actually just builds up the expectations that you might match. So it is kind of an emotional hit. So it is only about you processing it. You need to just process it, just get through it, and you need to just apply for the soap. Because I've seen people, they take time, just process. I respect that. It takes time for people to just address their emotions and go through everything, but you have limited time for that. So I just took some time off, like an hour or so. I just had my family with me, support system. We were just talking about it, and yeah, they were. This was the thing they were talking about, that you should give it a try. And obviously, I was just going to give it a try, and so you don't have to pay anything. You get 45 tokens. You can just apply through. So this was something. You just need to. It's kind of things that is very tricky. You have to fight your emotions. You have to just process the news. At the same time, you have to just get back to work. So it is kind of just balancing these both things together.
What might a residency applicant do that might violate the rules and disqualify them from SOAP?
So for the SOAP, it's pretty clear that you cannot contact the program before the program contacts you. So getting an invite is considered a contact from the program. So once you get once you get an interview from a program, you interview with them, you can go on and send your letter of intent, or you can just write to them and tell them you're interested in this. But if you violate that before and you get reported, that is something you are actually violating the rules of the SOAP. So you cannot go ahead. Actually, we went through different scenarios. We would just have text messages coming on, like programs want us to apply, to send our CVs through to a particular email. But I particularly, and I've known people around me, we were reluctant to do that. We just wanted to wait on. We did not want to just violate the rules and regulations of the SOAP. So I just waited on. Once I got an interview, I gave the interview, and then I was sure that I could just go on and contact the programs. Then I wrote my letter of intent.
So, sir, you're saying a program reached out to you on your personal self, like sending a message that, hey, apply to our program?
So yeah, you have different groups of people on WhatsApp, for example. So we would just have messages coming on from different programs that we have these many seats vacant. You can just apply with this LORs and CV, and you can just go on and email your CV on this. So this was something we were coming across when we were going through the SOAP process. But I think we should avoid that, and we should just wait on. If we get invited from a program for an interview, then we should just contact the program.
Got it.
Because you do not want to violate the rules and just get banned.
Absolutely. And all communication happens only through the ERAS platform, and not like using your personal email or anything.
No, I think that is not necessary. It depends on the program. If they contact you through ERAS, you should be contacting them back through ERAS. I got an interview. I just emailed them from my personal email address after I was done with the interview, right, and they responded to that. So we were having communication through that.
People putting in a word for you, like maybe a colleague, maybe you had an alumni from your med school who's in a certain program. So certainly from what you're saying, they could not also put in a word to their program director about you before the program has initiated communication with you.
Yes. Okay. If you're talking about it, it actually is violating the rules. Anyone putting in a word for you even. So you need to be careful. I know this is a thin line, but you need to be careful with it. If a program goes on to report you, then you have a problem. And if I've seen people, couple of colleagues putting in a word for someone and the program not reporting it. So this has actually happened, and they are fine with it. So the only thing is you should not be reported. If you're reported, then you are in trouble.
Or can it happen that, a program interviews you? This is a program that's unfilled, that went unfilled. They interview you, and after the first round, they still have unfilled positions. Leaves you wondering how come they're still unfilled if, they interviewed so many applicants.
Yeah, so I remember the program I matched into, they had, I think, 2 or 3 vacant seats, but they interviewed more people. Right. Like I interviewed with a group of people, I thought they were 7 to 8 people interviewing with me. So I think for the 2 to 3 seats, they actually interviewed 10 to 15 people. I'm not sure about it, but people I was giving interview with, we actually had 6 to 7 people at the same time who were interviewing for the seats. So you never know if one of the seats gets filled and one is vacant. So you have 3 rounds, you have many people more who are waiting, so you never know about it.
When you say offered, is that like a verbal offer? Is that like a contract?
So you get an offer in your through your NRMP. You get an offer through your NRMP, and it says they have offered you a job. So it's a binding. If you take this job, you're bound to just join. So just like a main match contract, when you get an offer through NRMP, it says you have matched through SOAP. So if you accept this offer, you are bound to stay in a contract with the program. So that is what you get to know. So if you accept it, you are actually legally bound with them.
Got it. Are they giving offer at the time of the interview also?
So going through this particular cycle, I did not hear about this stuff. Okay. So with my communications, I would have those signals coming in from them that they are interested in giving me a job. But that was through the emails I was communicating them through. So during the interview, I don't think so. We actually had interviews with a few of them had an interview with program directors. You had an interview with the associate program directors, but I did not hear from anyone that they offered me straight away.
Got it.
I don't think that tends to happen. They just go through, they probably sit down after interviewing people and go through the whole list again and see who they need to get up with.
Without an offer. Okay. How are you notified about an interview? Do they send you an email or a phone call?
Yeah, so I got an email on my personal email address. I got it there that they want to interview you, and that was through Thalamus, I guess. Yeah, that was through Thalamus. I got an interview. So they asked me to just schedule the interview. And due to the time difference, I had like kind of 2 hours just to prepare for it. So mostly it is through, they're communicating through most of the time through their email addresses. And rare cases, they do tend to contact you through your cell phones.
One needs to be on top of like being available to check their emails, check their phone calls, to look at these emails as quickly as they come, and get that interview scheduled right away.
Yeah, so you should be ready with everything. You should be checking your cell phones. You should be checking your emails. You should have your suit ready. You just have a limited time just to go through the program. So better be, you should be researching through the program when you're applying. But once you get an offer, you have a limited time. You should just go through their website, I would say, just to know about the program, that they know that you have just gone through them and you seem to be interested in them, and just be prepared. Yeah. So that you have 2 days, Tuesday and Wednesday. So you need to be on your toes.
And these interviews are kind of like just the interviews from the main match.
So I had a full-fledged interview that was around 1 hour or 1 hour 30 minutes. So we had, first of all, the program director talk to the whole group of people who were interviewing. Then we had a resident chat to us about the program. And then we had the main interview. Few interviewed with the program director. Few of us interviewed with the associate program director. So it was a whole cycle you have to go through, like properly getting through the program coordinator. Then the PD addresses you. Then you talk to a resident. You have your questions. They just interact with you. Because most of the programs, they do tend to ask their residents what they think about a candidate. So I think that is somewhere you can actually just make yourself click. And yeah, that is something you can cache and work on. When talking to a resident, they are actually just answering your questions, but they are also assessing you. Absolutely. That if you are good enough for this. And then you tend to have your main program match. They do tend to send you the whole schedule, that you're going to meet the program director for 10 minutes, then you're going to have residents for 20 minutes, and then the main interview with whosoever it is, it's going to be 20 minutes or 25 minutes. So it's the whole schedule. You tend to get that.
In these interviews, do they ask why you feel you didn't match?
Yeah, so I think I was, in my interview, I wasn't asked about this, but yeah, one of my mentors, when they were preparing me for the interview, they made me answer this question. So I think this is a question that actually pops up a lot in the SOAP, that they want to know what do you think you were lacking and you didn't match. So yeah, I think this is a question most of the applicants do tend to come across.
Got it. Were you also hoping to ask the program why the program went unfilled?
Yeah, so you can ask that. It's obviously something, if you have any concerns about them, you can ask the resident, you can ask the person interviewing you can obviously ask that why you were left vacant. So I think it's a genuine question a candidate should ask, and it's their right to ask.
Did this program share with you why they went unfilled?
So I think I probably didn't ask them this.
Okay.
I didn't ask them. Yeah, because I think my whole interview, it was something it was all about the experiences I've been going through my whole life. We did not have particular chat about family medicine in particular. I think we had an interview for 20 minutes, and I think for like a minute or so, we would have talked about family medicine, and that's it. So it's just a random interview. They're actually assessing you, and it actually depends upon you where you want to take your interview. As I mentioned, I did not require a visa. But when we were going through the SOAP process, I actually, just for the IMGs, I had a couple of friends who were visa requiring, and they matched for me. Like they got an offer in the second round, first round, and third round. So I think IMGs must focus on the SOAP.
And Dr. Uzair, you mentioned that you sent out thank you letters and letter of intent to this program, once they initiated communication with you.
Yes, I did. So I actually gave me an email address. The associate program director who actually interviewed me gave me the email address, but I just went on, contacted the program just to make sure I got the right email address. And they were kind enough to just give me the contact. So I just went on and then I sent my thank you letter and letter of intent. And one thing I did, I had a mentor in US. I asked them for a favor if they could just write to the program about me, just to put in a word for me.
Absolutely.
Because once you're interviewed, you can do that. So I think the mentor and the person who interviewed me, they actually acknowledged that they received an email from my mentor. That was during the communication we were having through our email.
You really used all possible avenues to show your interest. After the interview, you said you sent thank you letters. You had this mentor put in a word to you, so you really, really showed your interest very positively. So that's really amazing.
Yes, and I think out of SOAP, I would like to mention this thing. Like I had a visa issue. I could not come into US. I was working for 2 years, and I was working in a cardiology setting. So I think out of all the interviews I had in my main match and even in my SOAP, I was talked about this. So even if you are an IMG, you are struggling to come into US, if you are clinically doing something back home, and if that is something you actually show your interest in, they tend to bring it up in your interviews. So this is something I want to just make clear, that all the US clinical experience, there's no match for them. But if you have strong clinical experience back home, they tend to bring it up from your ERA CV, and they tend to talk about it in the interviews. So I think I do not remember any of my interviews in which I wasn't talked about it. There was something they brought it up straight away. So I think that is something.
Yeah. When you say bring it up, like they were asking, okay, what exactly did you do in these months at so and so hospital in Pakistan? Is that what they were trying to get more information about what your role was, or were they trying to see, okay, is this doctor really ready for practicing in the US healthcare system?
So yeah, they actually they were variable questions. Few of them actually wanted to know what exactly my role was. And what sort of patients I was attending, and what actually was the kind of responsibility I was having. And rest of them actually wanted to understand the system, how it works back in Pakistan. As a medical officer, what are your responsibilities? Who is supervising you? And what sort of patients you interact with? What sort of places you're working in? You're working in CCUs, ICUs, you're attending ED. So they actually wanted. So this is something, if you have something and they bring it up and they want to talk about it, they actually let you talk about your experience. And if you can just send your message across and let them know that I have been doing this was my responsibility, and I've been clinically active in this particular thing, and I actually have experience, and this is something which I can use coming to the US. So I think that actually plays a good hand for you.
Is the general suggestion that, okay, just take the offer, even if it's a program you don't like, or is it like, okay, why don't you go wait for the next round? Maybe you'll get an offer from the program that you might like.
Yeah. So in SOAP and being an IMG, that's a gamble. You should be aware of the consequences.
Yes.
But I would say you should balance out. If there is something, like I thought PEDS was something I did not want to do. So yeah, but fortunately coming into family medicine, I actually have to go through PEDS. So that is something, yeah, but I was pretty sure that I did not want to do PEDS. Yes. So I did not apply for that. So if you have applied for something that you feel like you're not comfortable or you won't enjoy doing, so I think that is something you should know your boundaries. Even if you get an offer, you need to be there for 3 years. That's a long, intense period of time. Especially the intern year, I think that's a really hard time for an intern coming into US as an IMG, having different challenges. And if you're in a place you do not enjoy working in, I think that tends to just make things worse. So it's a kind of a gamble you need to take. But if you like, for me, I wanted to be to go through hospital medicine, and this particular family medicine program had, I think, most, even if you compare throughout, it was one of the programs that had a lot of inpatient exposure for the residents. Because like our the graduates from our program, they are actually joining as hospitalists all over the US. So these are the things you need to consider. So as being an IM, going through IM, I wanted to do hospital medicine. Through FM, I had that channel open. So I actually just went through with FM due to that reason. Absolutely. So this is something you need to just see, and if that actually you think you could just enjoy doing that for the rest of your life, then you should take it. And if you feel like it's going to be a burden on you, so you should better wait. I think it's obviously, as an IMG, there are challenges when you have to wait for a whole year. But yeah, if you do not like something, you do not love doing it, you are going to have a hard time.
For Dr. Uzair, I would like to ask, if you could really go back in time, how would you, I guess, prepare yourself for SOAP in any different way?
Yeah, so considering the fact I was in US, I would just go on and work more on my clinical experience. If you are in US and you have time for that, do go for clinical experience. That actually does matter. And in SOAP even, that helps you getting an interview and probably getting matched. So I think this is something you need to do and I don't think there is a thing you can just look for other options as well. Like I went for IM in my main match. But in my SOAP, I had IM and FM both together because I knew what I had to do. So I saw a path that I could just go through the FM pathway as well. So this is something you need to think about. Most of the time, most of the tokens I did use on IM, but I think this is something I have learned from SOAP that even if you don't match, so if you could achieve your main goal through going through another pathway, you must consider it for SOAP. And yeah, applying to multiple specialties actually does give you a more chance of matching. Having a mentor is actually very crucial. The thing was that I put up a post on one of the Facebook groups that I got an interview from Family Medicine program. And one of the main person who runs that particular page is a physician, family medicine physician. She was kind enough to just reach out to me. I didn't expect, I had 30 minutes. So I was like, I just need to prepare on my own. So she was kind enough to reach out to me and just gave me calmed my nerves down and gave me all the things that I needed for the interview. So I think there are seniors, there are people who actually want to help. I had different residents, different people who applied, who didn't match, reach out to me and check with me if I needed something, if they could help me in getting through the interview. In that span of 2 hours. So I think people actually, through different platforms, people do tend to just offer their support. And I think they're kind enough. The people who are on higher post, even if your co-applicants and the people who have matched, current residents, they do tend to reach out to you and offer their support. And if you have a mentor who could just guide you through that, that is something that helps. But yes, I would say the emotional thing, you just need to take some time off, process the news, just tell yourself that this is not the end of the world. You could just go on again and be a better applicant, and you probably go on and match and SOAP. So I've seen people actually going through the whole match process. They take a lot of time processing their news, which is normal. But yeah, you just need to process it. And at the same time, you just need to get back to work. Once the cycle ends, once our fourth round ends, you're allowed to contact the programs that have the vacancies left. So I've seen many US graduates, the people who have done their med school in US, match and scramble. And I've seen a couple of IMGs even, they just reached out to programs and they ended up matching. So scramble is a thing, that is a sort of a bigger gamble, but you just need to give everything you have. You have nothing to lose. You just need to reach out to the program. You have the list, you get a list from them that these are the programs with these many vacancies. There's no harm in reaching out to programs just to send up your CV. I would say it's better to just call out the programs, just give them a call and just reach out to them that I see you have vacancies. This is particular applicant. I would love to join you. I can just send over my CV or whatever, however it works. So I think scramble, you have a lot of options going through SOAP and then scramble. There are many seats that are left vacant and programs actually are looking to fill them up. Obviously, they prefer people who are graduates in US, who have done their med school in US, but I've seen IMG going through as well. So even I say if I can match in SOAP, anyone can match in SOAP. So you should not give up. That's the main thing. You should just need to keep going. Obviously, it's hard once you get that emotional hit, but you need to just keep that in mind, process it, and just try. And most of the time, you get lucky enough. You just do tend to have a chance. It's all about you availing that chance. So I would say whenever you get a chance, just give your best and hope for the best.
Absolutely. Well, such a motivating and inspiring, experience that you have shared with us, Dr. Uzair. So So thank you again so much for it.